Welcome to Ragnar Riders Shop Talk, the ultimate pit stop for all things two-wheeled and roaring. We are mostly ordinary guys who live and breathe the motorcycle lifestyle. From our personal journeys to gripping product and accessory reviews, bike builds that redefine the road, the latest industry buzz, and a sneak peek into our future travels, consider this your front row seat to our motorcycling odyssey. So kick back, relax, and let the engines roar as we dive deep into the world of chrome, leather, and the sweet symphony of the open highway. Welcome to Ragnar Riders Shop Talk, where the rubber meets the road and the stories unfold in the wind.
What is poppin', my motorcycle peeps? We are back with Ragnar Riders Shop Talk. I'm DJ Seeley, got
Randy Boren
and
John Woody.
And we are grateful that you are tuned in. We thank you for being here. We hope that you're finding some benefit in what's happening here and what we're doing. We started our conversation last episode about rallies, talked about that, about, if you're considering a rally, if you're a new rider, maybe wondering what the scene's like, maybe a little intimidated by the idea of going to a rally, go back and check that one out. I think we could put your mind at ease a little bit there. We were the same way starting out a few years ago. We've been to several rallies all over the place now. Randy's been to Sturgis. John and I are going up there, not for the rally, but for the riding this year.
Yeah.
Was September?
Yep.
Is that when we're going? And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today, was the differences in the rallies and how to choose the right rally for you, and what considerations somebody might have. I mean, they're not all the same. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
We've been to several. Some of them are going to fit this style of rider better. Some of them are going to fit this style of motorcycle better than others. And so that's kind of what I wanted to touch on today, is get you guys' input on that. I know for me, my first rally was Daytona. Enjoyed it, had a good time. We talked about in the last episode, there's something for everybody there. One thing that Daytona lacks is a lot of riding. If you're the guy that wants to go to a rally and ride, it's probably not the best rally to go to. If you've got to pick and choose, if you're choosing one rally to go to this year, then do a self-assessment. Say, what do I want to get out of this experience?
Yeah.
If you're wanting to lay down miles just at a rally, Daytona may not be the one to go to.
I agree.
Unless you have the time and you're wanting to make a Key West run, Fort Lauderdale, Miami run, Tampa roll run around by Leesburg, which has its own rally at certain times of the year. Unless you're wanting to venture off that far, your rides are typically an hour to a couple of hours just around the area, and that's beautiful.
Yeah.
As we discussed.
Up to St. Augustine,
Yeah.
over around the lake,
Yep.
over towards Orlando, go down to the Space Center, or even down to Cocoa Beach,
Right.
Melbourne. I mean, there's some short, kind of half-day rides that
Right.
are worth doing, and then if you spend some time at the scenery there, then it turns into a full day. But, I'm with y'all, though, like, true riding experience.
Right.
Yeah, I think that there's other options out there that if you're actually looking for a week long of riding, that may be better for you.
Yeah.
So if you came to a rally and you wanted the gambit of things, you wanted to ride some, you wanted to enjoy the vendors, you wanted to enjoy the bar scene, or just have a drink and restaurants and good food, would you say that would fit better then? Because if you got off on a day ride where you were going to be gone for 7-8 hours, and you might miss out on some of those other things. So I guess it depends on, and DJ brought this up in the beginning of this one and some the last one, what is it that you're looking for?
Yeah.
That's got to be your number one question and answer. Once that's asked and then answered, at that point it's just a matter of, doing your due diligence, as we like to say, and knowing what each rally offers.
Yeah. I think there's, like I said, it's just kind of a self-assessment. What style of riding do you prefer if you're looking for riding? Let's establish that first, okay? Let's say I'm a guy that I've got an LRS. I like to carve the canyons. I like the twisties. And I just want to go ride. I want to ride with other people. And when I get done riding, I want to plan to go riding again.
Right.
I'm there to ride. where am I going to go? It's probably not Daytona.
Right.
I mean, we've been to Tennessee. We've ridden the Tail Dragon, and that's probably one of the most renowned rides in the U.S. And I think their tagline or slogan or whatever it is, like 318 curves and 17 miles
and
or
11
something.
miles, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I've seen people with stickers or T-shirts that talk. It's got a picture of Florida. It says Florida, 17 curves and 318
Yeah.
miles.
That's right.
Going to Florida. I mean, it is what it is. It's flat. It's relatively
Yep.
straight. There's some beautiful things to
Yep.
look at. It could be a kind of underwhelming riding experience for the guy that knows the lean limits of his motorcycle. Is that a fair statement?
It is, and I would add to that, and we've all three have ridden from Birmingham, which is where we're from, Alabama, to Daytona, a couple times, and I would say if you're wanting to truly just take a motorcycle trip and lay down miles, then riding from your location, if it's feasible, to Daytona and back would be the best way to get miles. If that's what you want to do, if that is your sole goal and everything else is kind of icing on the cake. But if you're wanting to go experience a little bit of everything, Daytona, you can do that. You can get in some scenic routes. The loop is less than about an hour. What is it? 26 miles, something like that. The Ormond Loop. Flagler Beach up A1A to St. Augustine, 40 miles, 50 miles.
Yeah, depending on which loop you make.
Yeah. So, and then of course you come back a different route, or you come back the same route. And we talked about some other areas that John's mentioned, but I mean, you can get in and go out to Renegades, Crescent City. Some of those places give you some miles, but then you've got restaurants, you've got scenes to see, shows to see, vendors to see. So there's a lot of mix there. Whereas if you go somewhere where the mountains are, or the Black Hills, or somewhere like that, Colorado, Northern California, you're going to get in some.
Yeah.
Forget everything else.
No,
You
one of
wanna
the
lay down
things
some miles
I
on the road.
appreciate about Daytona is, I guess, the congregation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how else to describe it, but there are, whether you're going to destination, or this restaurant bar, that one over there, the Iron Horse, the Dog House, wherever you go,
Mm-hmm.
there's plenty of places for people to congregate and shoot the bull, have a few drinks, cut up, hang out,
Yep.
good time. That's pretty widespread across the Daytona scene.
Right.
There's lots of bike shows. I don't know how many there are, but there's a lot. The campgrounds typically have their own events. There's band after band after band, whether you want country, you want rock.
Yep.
It's all there. You just got to find them, figure out who's playing where.
Cabbage Patch is the same way. It's a little bit of a ride out of town, but they do the same thing. They build their environment and their schedule around you just staying there if that's all you want to do.
Sure,
Riding
sure.
in that area.
They've got their own little rally
They do.
going
They
on
got
over here.
food. They got campground areas where you can camp out. They've got the concerts. We rode out there in the fall, and they actually had a DS-18 put on an audio show the night we were out there. Dude, and the ground was vibrating. I mean, it had some big wigs out there doing audio shows. It was cool. So lots of different things, and Buffalo Chip in Sturgis is the same way. Full Throttle, they have their own campground. They're the same way. So that's aside from all the other activities.
Yeah.
So just so much.
So I think that's kind of key for Daytona.
Mm-hmm.
Is there's all these little rallies within the rally and these little spots to just hang out, spots. But if you go to maybe up in Arkansas to the rally up there, what is it?
The Ozarks or the Bikers and
Blues Band
Blues
barbecue or
yeah.
something. There's probably not going to be as much of that. Certainly there's going to be.
Right.
But that area is known for tremendous roads to just ride.
That's right.
There's plenty of routes to take. What's that city there that we were talking about going to this year? I can't remember, but maybe we can put it in some notes or something. But there's there's more riding there. Maggie Valley's the same way.
Yep.
There's not going to be as much of these big event spaces where everybody's congregating and
Right.
hanging out, because the attraction there is the riding.
Right.
Yeah. There's another option that's growing. I think this is going to be their second year, and that's the Thunder and the Smokies. Or
Yeah.
last year they had their first annual, and we've
so.
talked to several vendors that went last year on the inaugural, and the feedback that I heard from them at Daytona this past fall was, hey, it was great.
Yeah.
You know, and they're reaching out to their contacts with other vendors to kind of increase that. So that's another that may develop as that continues to progress out of its normal progression to bring more vendors and then still have the riding experience. So
I think you get a lot of that when you're talking about, really anything from around the eastern side of North Carolina, northern Georgia, really about all of Tennessee east of Nashville, up into Kentucky, and then of course over into Arkansas and really north in our state. Alabama's got some riding, especially the northeast section. But you go to these, like you said, you go to these rallies and you're kind of there at the rally, but a lot of riding goes on, lot of riding, and again, deciding exactly what it is you're looking for. And what you want out of it. We were just talking before this podcast started about another rally at Thunder Beach. And, that's not necessarily a rally that I starve to go to, but I like seafood and I like to eat. And there's some pretty decent places that are spread out across the coast from Pensacola to Destin.
Yeah.
And, so I go down there for that. And I get to see a few motorcycle riders and a couple of shows and this, that, and the other in the meantime. But as far as if you've never been to one and you were asking us, hey, where should I go to first? I think Daytona's got to be there. It's one of the grandfathers. It's the first one of each year.
yeah, it's the kickoff of the season.
It's 10 days. It's enormous, and there's enough to do to keep your interest at least for a few days. Most people don't go for the full 10 days anyway.
We kind of transition from the last episode of this to talking about, the type of, and I think there's another aspect, and you kind of alluded to this, that, if you're truly into the riding, something that I would encourage you as you develop friends that you ride with is maybe if you're really looking for riding is you look at options of maybe just planning a weekend getaway, even if it's even in solitude by yourself. I think there's a lot of value in that, DJ mentioned that this next September we're going to Sturgis, and we made a conscious decision because our wives are going to go with us, and some of it may have stemmed from, for me, you pitched the idea, and then I watched Two Lane Life's little vlog series of Sturgis with the wives with non-rally, and my wife was sold, and so we're planning a trip outside rally week just to go up there and do riding, and and you don't have to deal with maybe some of the congestion as you're waiting to go through needles or and a lot of times y'all have done several trips, and based on the time of the year I haven't been able to join you, but y'all have done several trips to the mountains, kind of a little couples getaway, 2-up riding type situation, and y'all have come back telling stories about that, stopping and going on a little short hike to a waterfall and doing some stuff like that. So that's kind of outside of the rally, and I don't want to get us too off, but if you're really focused on the riding, then that's an option too that I would strongly encourage everybody to look at. Just plan a little 3 or 4 day getaway.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't even have to have a plan to do it. Just get on the bike and go.
I agree. I think there's, and we've all been, you and Bobby's been out, and you and Allison's been out, Shayla and I have been out, and we've all been out together. And I don't think I've ever recall in any combination of that, not in having fun, not enjoying it. My goal is to be on two wheels, or in the air, the freedom, the wind, having her with me adds to it. And but if I have to go by myself, I'm good with that too. Yeah. But it makes for lots of memories and lots of opportunities when we do that. So
Yeah, I agree. And all of these places, we're in the Southeast, so we're probably going to speak heavily to the things going on in the Southeast. But most of these communities that we talk about, these cities or areas, they cater to riders during the entire riding season.
That's right.
The last trip I took, I guess Allison and I went up to Kentucky, stayed in a little Airbnb right not far from, what's that, Wildcat, Harley Davidson. Kudos to those guys. We kind of planned that trip. We were originally going to go to Arkansas.
Right.
That was our plan. Eureka Springs. That's what I meant to say earlier. I was going to Eureka Springs is where we were going to go.
That's right.
Glad that came to me. But we had planned a trip to Eureka Springs, and then got to looking at the weather report, and they were going to get like 4 inches of rain the weekend we were going to go.
Yeah.
So I told my wife, I was like, hey, this isn't going to be real fun. We need to punt here and find somewhere else to go. And Kentucky came up. We found a place to stay. I got online. Wildcat hardly had rides on their website, downloadable GPX files. Here's the best rides in our area.
Nice.
I wish everybody did that.
Yeah.
They're one of the bigger dealerships. I know, I think somebody told me they were in one of the top 30s, but we went, stayed in a little Airbnb, not a couple miles down the road from them, got on their website, downloaded those GPX files, went and spent 3 days up there. Didn't get to half of the rides.
Right.
But they did a good job of laying out, here's the routes to take that were, I downloaded to the GPS, I followed it. We see some beautiful scenery, rode to a couple of distilleries. If you're into that scene, what I have found is going to a distillery, even if you're not into distilleries and bourbons and whiskeys and things, is they're in beautiful country.
Oh, yeah.
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 What was the one y'all, the one, LaSafe, Kentucky? I can't think. It's one of my favorites bourbons, and I'm drawing a blank.
We went to Woodford.
Woodford, there you go.
Yeah.
Woodford, you're going down some small 2-lane roads in between horse farms, and I'm talking about $1 million horse farms with Kentucky bluegrass up to your ankles. I mean, it's just gorgeous. And then all of a sudden, you drop off this little hill, and boom, you're at the natural spring where the distillery is, and it's gorgeous.
I think they put a lot of those up in that area in East Tennessee and some places because of the springs and the water.
Yeah, that's
Sure.
the history behind it. Yeah.
So.
So that was a good one. Randy and I took our wives to Helen this year. That was another, that whole area there, northern Georgia and was that South Carolina, Tennessee, that little it borders the states there. Great riding there, accommodating, people eager to point you in the right direction. And generally you can just, the bikes are migrating all the time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The traffic's there, just jump in.
It's a fluid, motion of bikes coming in. We went into Maggie Valley. It was my first trip there. Got to see Wheels in Time, which was a fantastic, museum. If you've never been, you've got to go there at some point in your riding career or riding life. And then of course coming back down through Bryson City and some other places. It's great. It's good riding up there. So to John's point about that is, visit your rallies, know what kind of riding you can get when you go, but also know that, if you're wanting to do some riding and you're newer and you want to kind of get out of the city and the red lights and all the rally biking and things of that nature, definitely look in your area. If you don't know, hit us up. We'll be glad to help point you in the right direction. But this country's got a lot of beautiful places to ride.
Yeah, and beyond the national rallies, there's local rallies in every state, and so was it Cycle Fish and some other social media, you can do some research and find some local rallies in each one of your states or check with your local dealers. And those have a different character sometimes. So kind of do a little bit of research, and make sure that that's the character you're looking for. But some of them get a little squirrely. Some of them you might not want to go too up to.
If it says adult only or 18 and over or clothing optional, something
no
like
judgment
that.
here. I mean, hey, whatever you want to do.
If that's your thing,
But there's all kinds of options.
There is.
And that's the interesting thing, and that's what's great about the motorcycle community. It's a very transparent community. It's a very welcoming community, and you can just about go to any scenario that we're talking about, the different dynamics of these rallies, and in some form or fashion, you're going to feel welcomed, you're going to feel comfortable, and you're going to enjoy. Every personality is different. So
I agree.
I'd be amiss to not to ask this question, Randy. You did something this past year that just kind of floored me. And I think there's value worth sharing.
Disclaimer: when he starts off like this, there's something coming. So hang on.
Yeah.
Well, maybe so. But
Great. Randy's about to be pissed at John.
well, maybe so. But I respect what he did, and I was a little bit jealous of what he did, to be honest with you. You know, so we had no plans of going to Sturgis this past year. We had talked about it, and then we were kind of late in our planning process. We're like, we're going to wait till next year and kind of plan a little bit deeper. For all of y'all that know, that kind of kept up with this past Sturgis season, a lot of rain. I mean, I'm talking about like a ton of rain. The first half of Sturgis, I mean, there's a lot of stories that go behind the rain that they're experiencing. Well, we're sitting there on Sunday night. I don't remember if we were texting or on a phone conversation or whatever, but three of us were chatting, and we got talking about, well, it looks like the rain's going to subside. And Randy out of nowhere is like, who wants to go in the morning?
Well, John, you said something about going.
Jokingly.
And I said, meet me in. They had already moved and relocated. Yeah. The history of us is we used to live in the same area. John and I lived in the same subdivision, and then they've relocated to South Alabama. So we were like, hey, meet me in Birmingham in the morning, and you can go with me.
Yeah.
And of course, we all got a ha-ha out of it. John had
Next
no
thing
idea.
I know, he's heading north. Like you left out at what, like 4:30 in the morning?
I left out at 3:30 Monday morning.
Boom! You're heading up there solo.
And I didn't make that decision until the Thursday before.
Oh, so you'd already had kind of been thinking about it.
Yeah, I'd been thinking about it for a
the Sunday
couple
night
of weeks.
conversation really wasn't.
No,
I thought it was totally off of a whim.
No, I had already. So I had talked to you about it a couple of weeks earlier, and I just kind of, you're the only one that I'd mentioned it to, other than Shelley.
Yeah.
But even when I left, nobody knew. No, nobody knew where I was going. Shelley and DJ were the only two that knew, and he only knew because. And I meant to keep it a secret to start with. I needed to decide for myself, and that's another topic for another day. But things going on, work, I run my own business, and so a lot of things were happening, and I needed to make that decision based on, my ability to be able to make the drive, because it took me 24 hours of ride time, seat time in the truck to get there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hauled out
So
there.
what was that experience like going to the biggest rally by yourself? And I kind of know some of the story that I'm prepping you for, but I think that's so interesting because you made contacts and relationships with total strangers. Talk through that experience of going to a rally by yourself and just stepping outside your comfort zone. Talk through. I would love to hear that. And again, I ask this question out of pure respect and almost a little envy. So
it was. So I'm in some groups and pages, how we all are of out there, and when I had got ready to leave, or when I knew that I was going the Thursday before, I got on Airbnb, found a couple that had a room in their home, and booked it. All right, so I was going to arrive Tuesday and going to leave Wednesday or Sunday. So I was going to be there for the rally started that Friday before.
Yeah.
And all the rain that previous week. That was another thing. I was watching the weather. Well, the weather was supposed to clear up. Side note, didn't rain a drop while I was there the whole time. Sun shone the whole time. It was fabulous. Made the decision to leave, booked the Airbnb, kind of kept it to myself, and just jumped in the truck and left. I got on a couple of forums when I stopped. Monday night, after 18 hours of driving, I stopped in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and spent the night. I knew I had I-90 went straight from Sioux Falls to Rapid City, and it was 400 miles one way, straight. So that was my last leg. I wanted to do that Tuesday morning. So I got on some forums. I had coming by myself. Has anybody got any groups? Does anybody want to ride? Can we meet up? Half-heartedly thinking there would probably be some folks say it, but it's kind of like we do in life where something happens to you and I say, hey man, if you need anything, let me know.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, yeah, seriously, as the three of us, we would do that for each other, but generally speaking, we don't really mean that. It's just something to say.
Yeah.
So I was kind of, hey dude, I'm going to be at, whatever, come on out. So I got a lot of that. I also got hit up by a whole lot of, hey, yeah, I'm going to be out there and I'm looking for a ride if you want to pick me up. And I was floored by the number of I don't know what we want to call
Temptations?
that. No, they were not temptations.
Solicitations?
No, these were snaggle tooth,
Vendors?
boobs dragging the ground.
Easy.
No, I'm just saying it like it is. Their pictures and profiles were on there, so you could see them. God love them, as my grandmother would say.
Bless their hearts.
But there was this 2 or 3 people that reached out, and then they would move out of the group to DM and Messenger. Met a guy that's in the Air Force. And still friends. Matter of fact, he's supposed to be in Daytona, and going to see him again.
Awesome.
And his guys that he rode with, a couple others. Met up with a girl from North Carolina in her groups called Salty B. She's a traveling nurse. Met her out there. That was a real brief connection, but have since, we follow each other on social media and TikTok and stuff. But I got to say, I spent 95% of the time by myself. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I just did.
Go and do what you wanted to do.
I got up when I wanted.
Didn't
left
have to
when
accommodate others. It was just like, hey, today I'm gonna go here.
Yep. And because of motorcycles being the community that they are, if I was riding somewhere and I saw a group riding, I'd jump in with them. And I'd follow them to either I needed to get up. Yeah. And they were very nice, accommodating. If they saw me following, they would, let me participate.
Yeah.
And then if they turned off, I'd keep going and pick up with another one. And the same thing, if I turned off, then I'd grab another one, and so on and so forth. But I didn't go anywhere where I didn't feel like I had about 500,000 of my closest friends. I just didn't.
See, that's awesome in my opinion.
I went to Full Throttle the first night. I had no idea where I was going and what I did. I just said, hey, where's Full Throttle? And I swear if the 3 guys that I asked that question to didn't go, just pointed down the road. And I'm like, all right. So I go down the road, I turn left, Buffalo Chips right here, Full Throttle's down there. One of their locations burned a few years ago.
Whoa, so you actually use communication with others to get directions and not Waze and different technology on your phone? We went old school? Is this what happened?
I used my GPS very little. I really did, just because I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what to put in. Yeah. When I got ready to go to fish, what's that? Spearfish. Left me. Yeah. When I got ready to go there, I went and drove around over there for an hour before I realized where the canyon route was.
Yeah.
And I accidentally stumbled on it. I was getting ready, got back on 90, headed back to Sturgis, because I'm like, I don't know where the road is.
Coming back from Spearfish Lodge?
Yeah. So I got off, and I said, you know what? No, this ain't going to happen. I made this maybe my only trip out here. I'm finding this road. So I got off the interstate to loop back around, and I'll be danged if there wasn't a sign there that said Spearfish Canyon. It pointed that way, and, it took me out straight to the Boar's Nest.
Yep.
Oh, my God. That was probably the most beautiful ride. Needles was great, but lots of rock. This was mountainous, rocks, falls, trees. It was just fabulous. It was beautiful. So, and we can talk about some more specifics. But
that's awesome.
Meeting
I
the new
appreciate
people
you
and all
sharing
that.
that with
absolutely.
I mean, that's good stuff.
I would say that's probably my biggest reservation to making the trip to Sturgis during the rally for my first trip to Sturgis.
Right.
I hear your story, and I think, okay, I don't know that I want to do that with my wife, and the congestion and the pressure and and not know where I'm going.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of looking forward to making our trip.
Absolutely.
We're a couple weeks after the rally, probably.
Yep.
And kind of learning my way
Actually,
around.
you're closer to
when
a month
it's
after the
less
rally.
congested.
Yeah.
Maybe a little less traffic, a little less pressure, a little more laid back, and learn my way around. And then
Maybe go for the rally.
my intent is to make the rally.
Well,
it's definitely a bucket list.
I mean, I think
checkbox
at some point you got to, and I think we're going back this year as well because I want to go to the rally. So Shelly and I and my sister and brother-in-law at the moment have the plans to go the week pre-rally. So we're going to be there. It'll be crowded, but it won't be as bad as it is during the rally. And we're going to drive around, whatever, and then they're going to fly home, and then my brother-in-law are going to stay for the rally. So it's going to be another kind of 10 to 14 day process, but you definitely got to, you got to visit it. I will say, and God, this is the rally that you're talking about rides. Riding the Black Hills, I'm going to have to say is probably second to none. Now, maybe it's because it was the first time I'd been out there. Maybe if I lived in the area and rode it more often, I could maybe say something else was, but I've ridden some of the Blue Ridge. I've ridden Maggie Valley. I've ridden the mountains of Tennessee, Alabama. I hadn't been to Arkansas yet, but I've watched tons of video on that area. Haven't been to Lone Star Rally, but I used to live down that way. I know a lot about the area.
But y'all made a trip out to Vegas, didn't you?
We did. We went to Vegas this year and rode the Grand Canyon, North Carolina. We rented a bike, which that can be another conversation. But so I've been in a lot of different areas, and I'm gonna tell you guys, like it. If you're into motorcycles and it's not just I want to ride it to dinner and back once in a while or whatever, then yeah, you got to get there. You guys will absolutely, you'll be floored. It is the place to go for laying down miles and miles of just sheer beauty.
So talk to the guy that's getting into motorcycling. I guess where I'm going with this is skill level.
Yeah.
So I'm relatively new. We can disclose that. I started on 2 wheels, had a uh-oh moment, ended up on 3, back on 2 now for a while, still getting my bearings about me in riding.
Right.
Where's a guy got to be successful in Sturgis? Well, we've had this conversation. I think I know what your answer will be, but does he have to be a professional rider?
No, he does not have to be, and I think that goes back to some of the things that we've already talked about and John talked about was look, I saw it happen on Lozelle Street. It's crowded as they come. I mean, from your, adventure bikes to your heavy-duty baggers to your CVOs to your built, draped out the back, show bikes, everything's down through there. And I've seen 2 or 3 situations where, bike would get laid over, and I'm going to tell you right now, you ain't seen guys that would pop off of bikes
To help.
pick that bike up, make sure everybody was okay. So you don't have to
But they all point their finger and laugh at you and give you heck about it, right?
Well, of course, absolutely.
No, they don't do that.
No, they don't.
At that point, they're worried about your safety.
Yeah,
and your
absolutely.
bike.
Now, of
Now,
course,
maybe
what
after a couple of
Yeah,
years,
I mean,
did you say that?
Yeah.
The ribbon's coming, but
Well, and I laid mine over. Another story, another day. I hurt my arm, and for a little while, I was not prepared to try to keep it up if it started to lay over, and I just let it lay over. But that's why they got.
The bikes are
crash
designed for that.
That's exactly right. So I'm not afraid to do that. But but I will say that the roads are, they're twisties, they're curves. Needles Highway from Sylvan Lake to when you come out on the other side is probably more switchbacks and S curves than we've ever experienced in one stretch of road. On top of that, you're going through the Needles part, which is 1 lane. And if you get there at the wrong time, then you're waiting potentially for hours to go through there.
But would you say that somebody that does the due diligence and is honest with themselves of what their current abilities are,
Right.
and they don't go out there and be stupid and overconfident, but be comfortable in
Sure.
what your abilities are, take your time when you need to. I mean, generally, most of these places, it's not like you're on an adventure bike and you're going through, the Midwest and some of these rocky terrains and everything. But for the most part, if you pay respect to what your abilities are, you're going to be okay.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, and that's well put from that perspective. I think, and to DJ's point about skill level, I think a beginner could ride it. Are there some areas that he would be better off not taking during the heat of the rally? Yes.
Yeah.
But there's enough areas.
But that's knowing yourself.
That's right. There's enough areas that you can get in riding. There's areas that I still didn't get to, and I rode about 300 to 500 miles every day. Tuesday I got there at noon, so I put in maybe 150 that day. But Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and Saturday morning, I put in a combination of I think around 1,500 miles. Yeah. You can put them in. Spearfish Canyon is great. There's some curves, but it is not twisty switchbacks and kind of stuff where it's dangerous. It's fine. You're doing good there. Going to the Devil's Tower over in Wyoming. That's nice because a lot of that's interstate. If you want to take interstate, you can take back roads too, but that's not bad either. All the roads around. Sturgis is a small city. All right. So, and if you've ever read the history on Sturgis, you know that when it started there 84, 85 years ago, that it was just a few people came into this small town of Sturgis and started having a bike get together, and it grew from there. Lots of stuff has morphed and evolved over the years. Some things have went away. Some things have come along. But the vastness of Sturgis goes way beyond Sturgis itself.
Yeah.
Hill City, Rapid City. I mean, Black Hills Harley Davidson is in Rapid City. Enormous parking lot. It is, to me, it was bigger than Destination Daytona. Wow. It was pretty good size. Hill City is as big. Their main street is as big, and bikes line the sides of it as Sturgis itself. And then there's other cities that I didn't even get to. Then you got Deadwood, it's the same way. Mm-hmm. I think that's where y'all are staying, somewhere in Deadwood area. The same thing there. You come in, there's a couple of hotels on the right. You take the road wise. Old Town is down the old brick road, and bikes line the street, just like Sturgis. So the vastness of it is huge. So you can go from city to city in different areas and just never ride the same road twice.
So back to DJ's question about ability, I think it's worthy, and if I'm out of line, they'll tell me, well, I know you will. Y'all call me out in a heartbeat. But I think not only knowing where your ability is for your own self, know where your ability is out of respect to the other riders.
Right.
I think is
Absolutely.
a key point that I think you need to be aware of.
Right.
And don't be so selfish and arrogant as you judge yourself, because you're out there and your inabilities may affect another rider on some of these more advanced curve roads and everything. Sure. So just factor that in as you're evaluating where you're at.
And look, I've been that guy that's looked at these guys beside me. They know me. They know where I'm at, and they know to probably give me a little bit more space in certain areas that I may need it, or to slow down a little bit, or let me set the pace in some places as my skill level has grown over the past couple of years. But when I get around a group of riders that I may not know, or that I know don't know me, I make no qualms about it. There's no shame in me saying, hey dude, I'm still trying to figure this thing out.
Sure.
So just know that. And the other people are like, hey, I appreciate the heads up.
Well,
and at that point, they may say, hey, you go to the front.
Hey,
or they want you in the back.
Right. Yeah, well, you go ahead, set the pace.
Most will want you in the back if it's something that they're about to cut loose on, because if they want to experience the, I'm in a little group there in Alabama where we ride some, and we'll go up Highway 25 or we'll go up Gunnersville State Park, and they hit that road fast.
Yeah, depending on the group and the size of the group.
Well, this particular group and these particular folks, and they'll tell everybody, they'll stop before we go up. And if there's any new folks, they'll stop and say, hey, you do you. We'll see you on the other side.
Yeah.
And that's
and
it.
I think
They're
respectful of that.
Absolutely.
Everybody's been there. Everybody started somewhere.
Yeah. And I could tell the respect is there. I dare say that the percentage where it's not is not enough to reduce the percentage. So I'm going to say 100% of respect in these larger rallies where, I'm riding along and there's a group up here. You can tell the guys that ride together, like us.
Yeah.
They're riding together. Then there's me, and then there's another group behind us, and then between us there may be another single or something. So you can tell the single guys that are not there with groups or couples, because there's space. Space is the big thing.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to give space. This is not, you're not in your car in bumper to bumper traffic like we were today coming back from Tennessee.
Wow.
You're riding a bike that, obviously we know the risk when we get on it every time, but one slip could change your life. Mm-hmm. So, it is being cautious first. Until you can throw caution to the wind and go at it if it's your time,
right.
Or element environment. So, but I don't ever recall the politeness of guys coming out, pulling out, parking. It was second to none. I mean, it was a great experience. And Daytona's not a lot different. There's a lot of, but the riding it's a completely different different environment when it comes to the riding environment.
So one thing I wanted to bring up is if you're planning a rally, what kind of bikes interest you?
Yeah.
And that may kind of lead you in one direction or another.
Oh, absolutely.
I know Daytona, and maybe it's just the craze of the moment, but there seems to be more performance bagger oriented events and shows there, I feel like, than maybe some of the other rallies. If you're into audio systems and stretched bags and that kind of thing, the big wheel bagger, Panama City has certainly got more of that.
And your crotch rockets and kind of bikes of that nature.
What's the one up on the Atlantic coast up north, Virginia Beach?
Yeah. Well,
that
Laconia,
rally.
Myrtle Beach. Myrtle Beach is a huge audio rally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Black Bike Week. You want to hear some audio? Go to because they have Black Bike Week. So go up there. I mean, yeah, it's a phenomenal place as well. But again, you're right. You're dead on.
Yeah. So there's different rallies that kind of gear a certain direction.
Yep.
That may play a role in choosing which rally you want to go to.
I agree. I will say, and I won't get into numbers because I don't really have that in my head, but just sitting there while you're saying that, I'm thinking to myself, Sturgis had a lot of two-up riders. A lot. And I think it's because of the more vast area to ride. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think Daytona and Thunder Beach and some of your more rallies of that nature, there's a lot of single riders. There's still a lot of two-ups down there too, don't get me wrong. But there's a lot of, single ride.
A lot of that comes down to the less dense population of the area in general.
Of the style, that's right. It could be.
Maybe.
So, just out of curiosity, we've talked now. We're kind of wrapping up the second set of talking about rallies. I'm gonna put you on the spot. What is y'all's best rally moment memory? Like, if you could look back at the rallies you've been to, what's like that one that sticks out at you?
He pointed at you. Why are you sitting here looking at me?
Both of y'all.
I have two. And one is the very first time that I sat down at the table at Outriggers and had the charcuterie board. Sea Treasures.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, that's some good stuff. And we did that.
We were hungry.
Yeah.
But it's worth it.
That was some good stuff. And that didn't even have anything to do with the rally. It was just a good restaurant and food. But maybe the primo would be the afternoon that I rode into Sturgis for the first time. I mean, it was just like I literally had hair standing up on my arms. I mean, chills. Just knowing the history, it was.
The chemistry, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and because there were people leaving. Like I passed bukus of bikes. And
had
trailers.
Enough for the rain.
They had been there for the rain, and I knew because I already looked at the weather that I was going for the good weather. So, but yeah, that was, and I think y'all feel the same when you get there. Even though you're not for the rally this year, I think you'll still get that same feel. I think it had a lot to do with the rally, but just being in the area because of the nostalgia of that area was pretty enormous. So
yeah, well, I mean, I may have felt that a little bit when you get into Daytona and you hit the A1A and they've got the big sign that says "Welcome to Daytona Beach."
That's right.
Across the road, there's a little bit of iconic flair to that. But I would say I love the ride from up to Flagler.
Yeah.
That little breakfast joint there that we go to and eat breakfast.
Oceanside, yep.
What are you, 30 yards off the ocean?
Yeah, and there's no houses on that side. There's no obstruction other than sand dunes.
You're right.
You're looking at the waves crashing.
Cruising at the right time of day, and really the traffic's rather minimal right there anyway. It's just a 2-lane road up the beach.
Most of that road covers the beach all the way up through there, but that particular section is legit right on the water or the beach.
We've done that a couple of times at 8, 9 breakfast time. The sun's coming up. It's nice.
Bloody Mary.
Or even at sunset. We did it this past fall at sunset, and it was
nice.
Even though the sun was setting to the far side, and as you get it further up A1A. You know, you've got the lagoons and everything on the side, on the left side of the road, and it's just as pretty in the afternoon, and that crisp air coming in.
Yeah.
You're right. That is.
Head up there, get you a Bloody Mary. I'm not a Bloody Mary guy, but these guys get them, and
They make some pretty good ones.
Well, I mean, they look fancy.
Yeah, they do.
Sometimes
If
they
I
have
was a
their
Bloody Mary guy, I
Yeah.
think that's the one I'd want.
and
sometimes they have their own charcuterie board on top of the glass.
Right. They do that. Now, there's some stuff they put on there I don't eat, but for the most part. You know, Jeremy and I went back to Renegades this fall. Great ride out, and we rode differently coming back. That's when we went through Crescent City by the lake, the other lake. But you know, that's just the sun was shining, the air was right. We sat on that back
Now,
porch
is that
on
the
the
route
restaurant.
that has all the moss hanging from the trees and everything?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, we sat inside the restaurant and ate when we went, but they've got the bar and band down by the water. And they've got the restaurant and then the back porch of the restaurant. So we sat on the back porch and got a table right in the corner. Like I legit put my feet up with my CVO Chuck T's, and man, I mean the gator in the lagoon there.
He brought it
water.
up. That means it's fair game.
I mean,
right? That's fair game now, right?
Y'all legit. He's got some Chuck Taylors that are
embroidered CVO. That's
CVO.
right. We don't play.
Oh my gosh, I
We
can't
don't
believe he
play.
admitted that.
I can't either.
Anyhow,
All right, Woody.
you know, I'm kind of like Randy. I got two. And it's a little bit more nostalgic, maybe. I'm gonna get a little sentimental. So, the first one I'll mention is that. So, a couple of years ago, my son started riding. You know, and as he's grown up through his ages, we've always had the father son. You know, it's been hunting, it's been baseball, it's been football, whatever the case. We've had our things that we've done as father and son. Well, you know, he's kind of progressed through his athletic career and now gotten way beyond what this dad can do. I mean, every now and then he lets me throw a bullpen to him. But anyhow, so he started riding with the old man, and that is in itself just an awesome experience. But so we took him to his first rally this past year. It was kind of entry level, Thunder Beach, and there was, if y'all remember, there was one day when we decided we're just going to do an easy ride down to Port St. Joe. You know, and I was kind of nostalgia. Happened to be looking back through some of those pictures, and we got in front of that little boardwalk thing that had the Port St. Joe painting on it.
Yes,
and
took the picture.
You know, and I just remember seeing the smile on his face, and kind of just experiencing that with your son was a great moment.
Sure.
The other moment still has some nostalgia. This past fall, my brother down and his wife to their first time to Daytona, and there was a period in our life and our family is when we were young kids that my dad was working. We lived in Melbourne, Florida, which is just a little bit south of Cocoa Beach. I was young. I think we moved away from there when I was like 4. And I have those, you know, when you're 4 years old, it's like you have memories, but you don't. Your recognition or recall or whatever. So I kind of had a little vague memories, but as we went down one day, went down to Kennedy, and then went on down to Cocoa Beach, stopped and ate lunch, and then we went on down to Melbourne, and he rode us by the house that we lived in, and it was certain little things kind of had like little flashbacks of my early childhood, and then we rode back as the sun was setting, stopped and ate at Outriggers on the way back. And just that walk down memory lane that I really didn't have memories of, but still did. But, you know, doing that on just the environment with my brother and his wife, me and my wife, that just little moments like that.
Sure.
And I'm sorry to get a little sappy and nostalgia, but those are kind of some of the things that kind of stand out. I mean, it's just good memories, good experiences.
You know, and I you know, the fall trip that the 6 of us made, you know, that's a highlight trip. I had a blast. You know, I love you guys. You know, we've been friends for a while now, and you know, the wives, and we've been on a few trips, and you know, we've all piled in an SUV in a rainy Saturday and rode Atlanta and visited dealerships, and you know, done a lot of stuff together, and you know, that trip will always be special for us. I just thought we had a blast and had some fun there that trip, and that's where I was introduced to Outriggers. I've actually threatened to leave Birmingham and drive down there just to eat and come home. I hadn't done it yet, but I bet that happens before I hit the ground at some point.
Yeah.
All right, Randy, send us home, man.
All right, guys. Hey, if you want to visit us, just keep in mind that We're on social media. We're getting this thing kicked off. We're having a blast. We hope you're getting some information and enjoying it. You can find us on TikTok at RR Shop Talk. You can also go to Instagram at rr.shoptalk, and then our email address is
rrshoptalk@gmail.com.
Guys, enjoy yourself. Ride, win, and as often as you can. And remember, safety and having fun is primo. No matter whether you're building your bike or you're traveling to a rally, just make sure that you're having fun and enjoy the wind therapy. Hey, rubber side down, shiny side up, right?
Amen.
All right, guys, enjoy it. God bless.